Now to a voting bill passed by the House that is causing some confusion and concern. It's called the SAVE Act. The bill, formerly known as the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, would require states to ask individuals for proof of citizenship in person in order to register to vote or update voter registration for a federal election. So that means providing a birth certificate or passport. The measure also would require states to remove non-citizens from existing voter rolls. Proponents of the bill say it's a way to make sure non-citizens don't vote in American elections. So what's the cause for concern? Well, opponents say this goes beyond a voter ID law and will make it more difficult for millions to vote, especially those who don't have a passport or birth certificate readily available. Let's dive deeper into this. We've got Michael Waldman, the president and CEO of the Brennan Center for Justice at NYU Law. Sir, thank you so much for being here. Some voting advocacy groups worry that the largest groups of people who could be disenfranchised are married women who changed their last name. So talk to us a little bit about that and why that's a point of concern.
It's a very legitimate point of concern. About 8 in 10 women who get married change their names. Very frequently, their current information, their voter records don't match their birth certificate. It's the kind of thing that would make it much harder for many millions of people to vote. The Brennan Center's research has shown that when you combine the requirement for a passport or a birth certificate, that is 21 million people who don't have any access to those records. And that's on top of the many other people, married women who have changed their names. So it really would be quite restrictive. It would be the first time Congress passed a national law to restrict voting in that dramatic a way.
And of course, waiting for those new documents to arrive, gathering those new documents, that always takes a lot of time, which could also delay voters in getting to the polls. And we do want to mention that the White House has dismissed this concern for married women. So let's talk about the ACLU. They say the legislation would especially harm naturalized citizens, voters with low incomes, voters of color, Native American voters, rural voters, and first-time voters as well. So talk to us about the issue of accessibility here.
Well, again, about half of all Americans, for example, don't have a passport. They're not summering in France. They don't have a passport. So if you're requiring people to have a passport or a birth certificate, which many people who grew up in rural areas or poor areas don't have easy access to, that affects a lot of people. This would really affect all different kinds of voters. It's hard to say just, oh, this is going to hurt Republicans or Democrats. It really would be across the board, and especially younger voters and poorer voters who would be hurt most, as well as married women. It really does pose the question of why would Congress dream of passing such a misguided bill to solve a problem that really is not a very widespread problem.
So proponents of the bill say its intention is to prevent non-citizen voting. So how often does that even happen in elections?
It is vanishingly rare. And even some of the proponents of the bill, like Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, said, well, there's really not a lot of evidence for it, but that's how you know how dangerous it is. It's vanishingly rare, as it should be. Only citizens should be able to vote, and only citizens are voting. The other problem with this bill is it would be a national bill that would upend the voter registration systems in every state. It would make it effectively impossible to register by mail or online. It would make automatic voter registration at the DMV very hard to do. It would basically end voter registration drives. It would wreck and upend how we register voters in the United States. So that's another reason that a lot of people, including election officials, have said this is a bad idea.
Well, Michael Waldman, thank you so much for your time. President and CEO of the Brennan Center for Justice at NYU Law. Thank you. As for what's next for the SAVE Act, the bill is up for review in the Senate. A vote has not yet been scheduled.